Find one thing, a mistake in the Quran. If you haven't read it, pick it up and just find one mistake. One mistake. There's no mistakes in that book.
That had this Quran been from anyone other than Allah, they would have found in it many errors and contradictions.
Okay, here we go again. Another group of Muslims lying as usual. This time they are lying about there being no errors in the Quran. Let's read through the Quran to find these errors for ourselves. In Surah 4:157, Muhammad says that Jesus was not crucified. The first time I heard this, it was pretty hard for me to believe, but there are a whole bunch of Muslims right now, and I've spoken to quite a number of them that will tell you that the crucifixion was just a hoax. It didn't happen. And even if it did happen, it could have been Judas that was crucified and not Jesus. In Surah 5:116, Allah says that the Holy Trinity in Christianity is made up of Jesus, Mary, and God. Now, no Christian in history has ever thought that. Clearly, this is an error from the devil. It's an error from the God of Islam. In Surah 9:30, Muhammad says that Christians call Jesus the Son of God, which is cool and all, whilst Jews call Ezra the Son of God. Now, there's no proof whatsoever of this being true. It is an error. No Jews in history have ever called Ezra the Son of God. In Surah 18:86, Muhammad says that the sun sets in a muddy pool. Now, I don't mean to brag, but I got a 5 in science, which kinda makes me a scientist at this point. But no, the sun doesn't set in a muddy pool. And to make matters worse, these are just writings that are believed to be plagiarized from Alexander the Great. In Surah 5:110, we see Jesus making a bird out of clay, and guess what? Jesus breathes into the nostrils of this bird, giving it life. You won't find this story in any verified Christian sources. The only place where you find Jesus talking from the time he was born, Jesus making birds out of clay and giving them life, and all sorts of other weird things is in the Quran and Gnostic scriptures like the infancy gospel of Thomas. Either Muhammad is lying or Allah is just dumb. Or wait. It turns out that Muhammad, our very own scumbag, was illiterate. The man couldn't read or write. And no, this is not an insult. Muhammad couldn't read or write, that's just a fact. The Mag used to just hear stories around, and most of them were false, as we've seen in the above scriptures, and he would take them as gospel truth. Stay in school, kids. Our scumbag relied on making such weird stories, and Allah, his pet pocket demon of a god, wasn't any better. If Allah was a true god, he would have known from the start that these stories were all just false. Islam is false, the Quran is false, and Allah is false. Stay away from Islam. And again, if you're offended by anything that I've said, well...
Don't argue with me, argue with your mother.